Welcome to Burn Notice, the series that analyzes the actions of a Burn spy and his team. And before we get into the episode, I hate when TV shows don't name the first episode. It's lazy when they just call it the pilot. Seriously, you can't name the episode. Even just calling the first episode the name of the series would still be lazy, but at least it's somewhat original. Anyway, this is the pilot episode of Burn Notice, and it starts with Michael Weston waiting for the warlord's henchmen to pick him up. And we also get introduced to Michael's narration, a mainstay of the series that explains how Michael's brain works. Upon meeting the warlord and offering to pay him $750,000, the plan goes awry when Michael is burned, which is a fancy way of saying getting fired, but also freezes his bank accounts and takes away his assets. And this is the first of many times he should have died in this series, so I'm just going to set up a counter for every time he should have died, because seriously, they would have just killed him. And also, why would an agency send him on a mission and then fire him? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, even low-level jobs fire you at the end of the shift. But anyway, Michael lies and fights the henchmen and kills his assailants, which is kind of weird, especially in the later seasons where he tries the best he can not to kill anybody. But anyway, he ends up on an airplane taking him to Miami, where we are introduced to Fiona, Michael's ex, but also an ex-IRA agent who will be known for her love of explosives and shoe shopping. But she calls Madeline Michael's mom, who becomes a tangential part of the crew, but is annoying right now. And due to the fact Michael has a desire to get his job back and leave, he's not too thrilled about his mom knowing his whereabouts. But now he has FBI agents following him that Fiona helps him lose.
Come on, make one of those scenes of yours, Bite one of them, set the other on fire. Just do it in about 10 minutes. I need to clean up.
After he loses them, he tries to get a hotel room but fails, goes to the bank to find out he has no money. Next, he tries using a payphone to contact his old boss, but gets nowhere due to the burn notice. But Michael gets a hotel room in Party Central to differentiate the police tales. A smart move, but definitely temporary. As he leaves, he notices the same feds, so he uses some kids to distract them and slip away yet again, and ends up using a disguise to meet with an old contact to find a job. And we meet Lucy, who is a semi-recurring character, and she gives Michael a job to get some money together. And that's when we meet Sam, a washed out Navy SEAL played by the king of B movies, the one and only Bruce Campbell, and at first is just the right hand man to Michael and someone just chasing skirts, but he becomes the super ego of the series, always appealing to the good of Michael. And since Sam is washed out, he doesn't care to mingle with the most radioactive man in Florida. Michael then meets with the first client, Javier, who is blamed for a burglary at work, and we see Michael's compassion for doing the job on the cheap.
You want me to figure out who ran off with $22 million in stuff, catch the bad guys, clear your name, all for, what is it, $4,500?
$4,600.
Oh, well, that's much better.
And while questioning the boss, Michael notices the safe has a fingerprint scanner. It is subtle, but it works for a scene in the future. Next, we meet the head of security, a meathead who blames Javier. Next, we see Michael finding a permanent place to stay, and Oleg, the manager, furthers Michael's legendary presence by talking about him like a godly entity, and typical Western fashion, he dismisses it, showing humbleness. Also, we get introduced to the Loft, which is home for most of the series. It doubles as a workshop, a place to stash people, and kind of a base of operations. While Michael is getting comfortable, however, Madeline calls Michael for a favor, and during this, we get some important background information about Michael's home life as a kid, and introduces his brother Nate, by name alone, who is a reoccurring character. Michael calls his handler to no avail and basically threatens if he doesn't call him back, he's going to do something, and decides to ship a bomb with no explosives. We meet David, Javier's kid, who doesn't understand what Michael does but forms a sort of bond together, and it's lucky Sam still has connections to figure out the background on the head of security. And then we get introduced to Barry, a money launderer that helps Michael in different situations even after this episode. Michael's handler does eventually call him to inform Michael of the rules of the burn notice. The handler doesn't make that many more appearances. I don't think he ever makes another appearance, so he's just his handler. Next, we officially meet Michael's neighbor, a two-bit drug dealer who tries to intimidate Michael, and due to Michael's earlier injuries, he gets the slight upper hand. But Michael twists his arm, and Sugar taps. But it doesn't get rid of Sugar for good, and not just in this episode, but in future episodes, Michael's injuries actually do prevent him from getting jobs done, which is a nice touch. Normally, a show would completely forget that he had an injury the very next episode. It doesn't last very long for the injuries that he does get, but it is a nice touch. Now, with the use of Barry's contact, he assumes that the boss stole the art and tried to sell it and collect the insurance to double dip, with Javier taking the fall. All but confirmed when Michael breaks in to make copies of the paperwork and breaking into the aforementioned safe using silly putty. Javier agrees to let Michael continue the job, and he shows the boss the paperwork to blackmail him. Michael then creates a listening device using two phones. The weird thing is, I don't think he ever pays for a service carrier. Not bad, just weird. Next, Fiona and Michael go on a date, and he admits she is the closest thing to a relationship, and 3 feds ruin the evening. Sugar hires a gunman that fails completely, showing Fee has the ability to take down assailants twice her size. After a quick trip to the hardware store, Michael devises a plan to force Sugar out. But this isn't the last we see of him. After that, Michael and Sam plant the listening device using Fee and a taxi driver. Spy work is mostly smoke and mirrors and distractions. While visiting his mother, the boss is trying to kidnap Javier's son. Luckily, Mike rams the security guard and saves the kid. While at the loft, Mike helps the kid fight his bullies by teaching him how to fight, proving that psychology works on both bullies and thieves. Mike follows Sam to a meeting with the FBI and gets to know who's actually following him, who is Agent Harris and Agent Lane, who follow Mike for the first season and show up here and there after. Mike is only slightly upset over Sam informing on him, reinforcing their relationship as a long-term friendship, and shows the level of trust Sam and Mike have with each other. As the job continues, Michael sets the house up for battle, and he finally fights the security guard and tricks the boss into shooting him, basically keeping the boss under Mike's thumb, giving Javier a fantastic lump sum of money and a college fund for his kid. As Mike is wrapping everything up, he sees the kid fight off his bullies, and finally Mike goes back to the loft to find pictures of him scattered across the floor, proving other people are watching him other than just the FBI. This episode is a great start to the series, giving us plenty of answers and asking enough questions to keep people hooked. If you enjoyed this episode, there's a playlist for my other series, Inside Criminal Minds, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.